Hey guys, Mr. V here, and I'd like to bring you some of my personal impressions of Call of Duty Ghosts multiplayer. Now, as most of you may already know, the fine ladies and gentlemen over at Activision and Infinity Ward invited MP First down to the official global multiplayer revealing of Call of Duty Ghosts in LA, California. And it was awesome. They really went all out with the event. There were a lot of people there, both blog owners, website owners, and other YouTubers, and they put on a great presentation for us. Now, you guys saw that on the live stream, but the whole setup in general was pretty cool. It was in the LA Live Entertainment Complex, and on top of having the main stage where Activision CEO Eric Hirschberg and Infinity Ward head Mark Rubin spoke, behind that was this very elaborate multiplayer setup which is where we went after the presentation to go play the game and get some hands-on time with it. And being a community member, I was lucky enough to get some footage to record to show you guys, and those are the 3 videos which I think most of you have seen by now, and also what is actually playing in the background currently. But since you can only get so much from looking at the game and hearing it, I figured I'd take the time to give you guys some of my impressions. And I actually want to do this in 2 parts. So this first video, I'm just going to go through some of the important things that I want to talk about. And for the second video, I'd like to open it up to you guys. We're going to just do a really simple, Q&A. You guys just ask, what is it you want to know, and I'll answer what I can. So as Mark put it, Infinity Ward hasn't left anything untouched. And, they are claiming that this is the biggest Call of Duty multiplayer overhaul since Call of Duty 4. And it's pretty clear that they haven't left anything untouched. Everything has been either improved or slightly altered to keep it fresh and new. That includes create a class now being create a soldier, your perks, the way you level up, the kill streaks. All that stuff has been reworked in one way or another. So I'll give you just a brief rundown of some of the biggest changes on that front in terms of features. So let's get into it. Create a class is now create a soldier. So what that means is that you have up to 10 soldiers, different soldiers that you can unlock through squad points. Squad points are basically your unlock tokens that you earn through gaining experience and ranking up. Now this ties directly into the way you actually rank up. With 10 different soldiers, or up to 10 soldiers, you'll only be able to start off with a couple and then sort of unlock them as you go. So the way I kind of see it is that Infinity Ward is going about it in the same way much like an MMO would. You basically can have up to, in this case, 10 different characters or 10 different careers. So each soldier has his or her own set, and yes, you can play as a female now. They have his or her own set of classes and loadouts. So it's essentially the same thing as a career in any other Call of Duty game, but you can only prestige it once. Once you've prestiged that career or that soldier, you can move on to the next one. But the way Infinity Ward has it set up, you can actually, rank up your first soldier about halfway and then move on to the next one and rank that guy up halfway and then move on to the next one and essentially just rank them up at the pace you'd like to. The way I take it is that once you rank up a soldier, there's got to be some sort of reward. They didn't tell us what the rewards were yet, but, there'll be like a symbol or something, so you'll get something probably to stick on your player card just to show you've prestiged a soldier. So let's get into how to create a soldier. You basically have, again, your loadouts just like any Call of Duty. Infinity Ward is sort of mixing Treyarch's Pick 10 system with their own classic way of creating a class. So it's not quite 10 points that you pick. You have like currency that you can use to unlock your primary weapon, your secondary weapon, your gadgets, your lethal and non-lethal gadgets. Now, what they're doing differently, though, is that attachments and kill streaks are absolutely free, so they don't cost anything. I'm not quite sure how that's going to play into the balance of the game quite yet, but we'll see, I guess. When it comes to perks, you have 8 points, and as you've seen, there are a lot of perks. There are 7 different tiers. Each tier has 5 different perks. Each perk costs a different amount of points. So some of the elite tiered perks, the good ones, they'll cost, I think the most expensive one is 5 points. So that's going to eat up a lot of your points right off the bat, not leaving you room for others. But if you wanted to, if there even are 8 perks that cost only 1 point, you could have 8 different low-level perks. And as Mark mentioned, you can get rid of your secondary weapon and your 2 equipment pieces to gain an additional 3 points to use towards perks. So if there were 11 perks that only cost 1 point, you could have up to 11 perks, but I don't think there is. So you're not gonna have to worry about people running around with 11 perks, and then even more with the specialist strike package. So yes, strike packages are coming back. Your assault, support, and specialist, they're all being tweaked. Marcus said that kill streaks in general are going away from the air-based way of doing kill streaks, and he wanted to have players earn more visceral, I guess, close quarters kill streaks, or kill streaks that you will actually handle and have to use. So that sounds really good to me, the fact that they're moving away from aerial-based kill streaks. Another thing that was tad different is that I'm not sure in which game modes it applies, but sometimes killing an enemy would drop field orders, and you would pick it up much like you would pick up a dog tag and kill confirmed. And this sort of floating briefcase would give you a set of orders, which are usually somewhat easy to accomplish. It's usually 2 kills doing something like some jump shots. I can't remember the one I got in game, but doing so will reward you with the care package. So that's another option to collect a kill streak without actually having to build up the number of kills for it. What was actually fairly disappointing to me was I really liked the way Treyarch set up their perks and weapon attachments, in that weapon attachments only affected your weapons, and they helped you improve anything related to weapons, like aiming down sight faster, reloading faster. To me, that made a lot of sense, while keeping the perks only affecting the character, so like movement speed or other special abilities, things like that. Infinity Ward seems to have gotten rid of that and just gone back to having, just perks that do everything. They affect your weapons, they affect your character. I don't know if I like it as much, but again, we'll see how it plays out in the final game. So I think that covers some of the most important aspects of the game. Those are all sort of the first things you're going to look for when you pop in Call of Duty Ghosts. You want to know how create a class works, how perks work, how kill streaks work, all that stuff. That's the gist of it right now. We still have a lot more to learn, and there are a lot more features as well that I don't really want to get into now, because I want to talk about the sort of core aspects that make up Call of Duty's gameplay. Now, you can't argue that Activision and Infinity Ward and Treyarch, they have that fun factor down packed. Like, they know how to make a fun first-person shooter, and all Call of Duties have been that fun, fast-paced, arcadey action that anybody can pick up and play and just have a good time with friends or even solo. So all of that is still there. It's still Call of Duty. But what I also really look for in first-person shooters is the immersion factor. I like to be very immersed in the game. And some of the ways to do that, or I think the best ways, are through basically visuals and sounds. Are the visuals good enough to be believable? And does the sound really suck you in and make you feel like you're in a real battlefield? I really like the sound improvements that Infinity Ward has made to Ghosts. It lacks that sort of big, boomy, bassy sounds that Black Ops 2 has, that Treyarch has included in their mix. So it's not as boomy and bassy, but the sort of directional sound is much better in Ghosts. I like how crisp and clear it is, and you can tell where everything is coming from. You can tell how far things are from you. You can tell if it's inside and outside. I really like the situational battle chatter as well, and it's nice to hear the female voice as well. Like, both voices are pretty cool. The weapons definitely sound much more realistic. Putting on a suppressor on a gun, for example, doesn't, in real life, it doesn't really silence it all that much. And so it reflects in this game. It's still, a suppressed weapon is still actually pretty loud and sounds pretty, like you're firing a weapon. But of course, you still have the effects of not showing up on radar and whatnot. Visually, I still think Call of Duty Ghosts has some ways to go. I think some of the other games coming out at around the same time are visually more impressive and still achieve the same frame rate. I even think, for example, Crysis 3 right now looks much better than Call of Duty Ghosts. So I think there is still some sort of work to be done on the visual front of the new Call of Duty engine. I get the feeling that Infinity Ward sort of pooled most of their efforts towards the gameplay, reworking the systems and the features, rather than focusing too much on visuals. I know a lot of people agree that visuals aren't what matter too much, but like I said, having good visuals simply immerses you in the game more, and that's something I like. So leaving the event, the thing that stuck out to me the most was the actual gameplay and the way you move and fire weapons. They are very noticeably different from any other Call of Duty, and I think whether it's good or a bad change, I don't care. It's different, and I think that's pretty exciting. You know, I'm sure some of you would like me to compare the general movement to past Call of Duty titles, but I can honestly say that I can't with Call of Duty Ghosts. It is something fairly different. So for starters, I know that Mark Rubin said movement speed has been ever so slightly decreased, so your soldier actually does run a little bit slower, and he also does run with more movement in the weapon and sort of the way he bobs. It looks more realistic. But the way that they've improved the vaulting and sliding, it does still feel very fast-paced because you can, slide around corners and you can vault over things much quicker. So that sort of evens out, I guess, the general overall player movement. While you run a tad slower, you can slide around and vault over things much quicker. Despite the video I had up showing you guys sort of how the contextual lean and peak works, I never actually really used it in the game. I'm going to assume that a lot of gamers like you guys are like me, and you're going to play Call of Duty the way you've always played Call of Duty, so you're going to like jump around corners, or you're going to move around corners quickly rather than kind of slowly like they've showed it off in the trailers, or like I was showing off in one of my gameplay videos. So I'd like to talk about the way weapons handled and the way just shooting feels in the game, but I'm kind of scared that most of it can be attributed to the fact that we were playing on a LAN connection, right? So it's going to feel perfect and buttery smooth, and just every bullet that you fire into the guy counts, and you can see it clearly. So we'll sort of have to wait and see how that plays into the final build of the game when everybody's playing at home on their internet provider using Call of Duty's P2P connection. And because we were playing on a PC build with Xbox One specs, things like auto-aim were actually turned off, so we also didn't get that sort of sticky, not auto-aim, but sticky aim, that Call of Duty has in most of their console games. Regardless, it still feels different enough. The weapons don't feel as laser beamy, if you know what I mean. They seem, for the most part, to have more recoil. And I also like that you can now see the bullets travel out of your weapon. So that, along with the better sounds, just makes weapon handling feel all the more better in Call of Duty Ghosts. To touch on the dynamic maps that Infinity Ward is introducing to Ghosts, when we were playing, it was nice when it happened. It's not something you really think about too often, like trying to blow holes in the wall or trying to crash a gas station or blow up a gas station, for example. It's nice when it happens, it looks cool, but I don't think it has too much of an effect on the gameplay. What does obviously have a huge effect on the gameplay is when something like the Odin Strike goes off, that big kill streak, which is essentially like a nuke. It will kill the enemy team, but it will also completely change the battlefield. Not only the way it looks, but it will change the lanes, the layout of the map. So you kind of, with every map, it's like you need to learn 2 different maps. So, that's pretty cool. I'm not sure if it's something people will get tired of later on, but, for now, it's pretty cool. So to sort of wrap it up, in terms of gameplay, if there's one thing I had to say that felt really different from previous Call of Duties, it was the character movements. And again, maybe the way the weapons handled, but I'll have to play it on console at home, to see if that's really the case. So I'm sure I left a bunch of things out, but those are sort of the general, most important things to me that I wanted to sort of cover. And for anything else, I'd like to open it up to you guys and do a second Q&A video, so you guys again can ask me anything that maybe I haven't covered or that you just really want to know about. And like I said, I'll do my best to answer, given the amount of playtime I've had with the game and given the current build of the game, which is still pretty early. So you can leave your questions in the comment section below. you can leave them with me on Twitter at Mr_Veselka, and you can also leave them in the forum post, which I am going to link below the video. So that about does it. Call of Duty Ghosts. I'm sort of excited to see just how it's going to play out in the next generation consoles. How is the new character movement going to sort of change the gameplay? Are the weapons, the way they handle, are they going to change the gameplay? How are the perks going to play out? Is it going to be the most balanced Call of Duty yet, or is it going to be just a complete mess? We don't know yet. So I'm just sort of excited to see where it's going to go, and just to sort of see what's beyond that. How is Treyarch going to build on what Infinity Ward is now doing for the next gen? Exciting times for Call of Duty, that's for sure. So I hope you guys enjoyed my impressions. If you want to, along with leaving some questions, just leave some of your impressions from the trailer or the gameplay. Please leave them below. I'll see you guys next time with that Q&A video. Until then, keep your sights on MP first.
Mission failed.